Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to European Truck Simulator 2, and welcome back to somewhere in the wild north of Russia, although I guess it's not that far north. There's other places much more norther. Top in the truck here. We're in our RJL Scania top line. We're hauling a load of acetylene, and we're hauling it from Murmansk down to Tornio. Tornio. Lift axles down. Here we go. We're about halfway there. We had to stop and get fuel. At one of the craziest gas stations, I think, on the map. It is ProMod's fuel stop. I've never seen anything like that in base game, which is not to say it's not in base game. I've just never seen it. But it's it's just like a pump by the side of the road. So we got fuel, and we're going to make our way into Tornio, and then depending on how we're doing on time, I may pick up another job and keep heading south, or we may just call it. We'll take a look when we get there. No sat-nav in the dash, so we do have the mini-map open, and other than that, let's just keep rolling on this extremely rough road. Holy smokes. So what is going on? It's Monday for you, it's Sunday for me. And yeah, it's been kind of an interesting gaming week. Heavily back into iRacing, which I've really been looking forward to, and I think I'm approaching it more from the league racing and series racing angle than I ever have before. So I've already added significantly to my C license. I'm just about to cross into a B license for road, and I feel like B license is where it begins to get serious. I hope it does. I hope it does. And then obviously A license and Pro license are on the horizon, but they're quite a ways away. Quite a ways away. And I feel like, you know, the way the service is set up, it's an interesting model. And you get the game for free, and you get some... no, I always say that. You don't get the game for free. You get the game for, I think, 12 bucks a month. It comes with some content. And then you buy the rest. You buy the rest of what you want. There's a ton of tracks. There's a ton of cars. It's quite expensive if you buy everything, but you only need to buy what you need to buy. So in this case, I'm going to focus on sports cars. I don't need to buy any stock car stuff. I don't need to buy any rallycross stuff. I don't need to buy any open wheel stuff. A lot of the tracks overlap, and there is some novelty where you have cars racing on tracks that they would never normally race on in real life. That's cool. I appreciate that. Now there is I wouldn't call it a trick, but there is something that they don't exactly like really make easily known. Really. Look at this jamoke back here. Sir and or ma'am, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, you need to relax. So let's say you want to do a race and you don't own the track. It'll give you a kind of a, not a warning, but it'll give you an indication that yes, you need to buy that track. And depending on the series that you want to do, it will also give you an indication that you need to buy 4 or 5 or 6 cars. But if you look carefully, if you already own one car in that series, so in this case for me that would typically be the Mercedes. Oh, stop sign. If it's a sports car series and I can do it in the Mercedes, it will have all the other cars listed, the RSR and the Z4 and the, you know what I mean, all the usual suspects. It'll have them all listed, and it seems like you need to buy them all. But what you can do is simply download them without buying them and use, I guess that's almost like the race room model, where all the content is always there, but you only have access to drive what you've bought, and then the NPCs drive the rest. So with no NPCs in iRacing, it's all people, it looks like you're expected to buy all that. I mean, they certainly list all of it, and it's a little bit of marketing. I'm not mad. Doesn't bother me at all, but it is nice to know that you only need to buy the car that you want to race, and if you already own it, then you only need to buy the track. So save me a little bit of money there, because I would have ended up buying all the GT3 and all the GTE and the prototype cars. that are in those races, even though I wouldn't be driving any of them. So I guess what I'm getting at is with the C license, there are still races available to me, but as you get up into B license and then later A license, all the cars and all the tracks for those classes are not included with that base subscription. So you've got to bump up. You've got to step your game up. And if you do not, I mean, I suppose you could get an A license with the Miata, maybe? Maybe? I don't know. I think at some point there are simply no more races with the base game content. And so you, right, to continue leveling up, there are simply no more races. So you have to buy cars and tracks. But I'll get to that point when I get to it. Oh, it's a little tricky here at the border. In the meantime, yeah, making progress and just about to cross into a B license, and I'm stoked about that and really enjoying the service. I also uninstalled the Division. And the reason I did is, first off, it's an absolute time toilet. And secondly, it's a classic RPG game where the higher your character is leveled, the slower the improvements come. And you end up in this weird loop. And this is not just the Division. This is virtually all RPGs, whether they're single player, multiplayer, whatever. There really is no end game, but there are always these tiny incremental improvements to make to your character. And so you just keep playing the game, doing the same thing over and over, so you can get more gear to make your character stronger, so you can go to more dangerous places. It's, yeah. I wouldn't say it's offensive. That's too strong a word. But from a certain angle, it's like, you just want me playing your game. And I understand every developer, every game publisher wants you playing their game, but I don't know, man. And I also fully understand that as sim drivers and sim players and sim farmers and sim, you know, that somebody looking in, out, you know what I mean. Somebody looking in at our sim world from the outside is like, well, shoot, man, you just drive the same car around the same tracks for hundreds or thousands of laps. How is that any different? It's not. It's not. And I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it's different and it doesn't work for me. But I guess motorsport is so classic, you know, so grandfathered in, pre-approved, that the idea of turning hundreds or thousands of laps is like that's a point of pride. You know, Sage Karam is on the iRacing service. He is an actual IndyCar driver. I don't think he has a ride right now, but he's trying to get a ride. And to hear him talk about his practice sessions and, you know, hundreds of laps, thousands of hours of practice. That's how committed he is to getting back into an IndyCar, and he's using the iRacing service to do that. Yeah, that's what you have to do. And you have to run hundreds or thousands of laps. And so when we do that in sim racing world, that's something to be proud of. And when somebody does it in RPG world, it's like, oh, you know, maybe you should talk to a mental health professional about that. Maybe you're addicted. So it's just different genres, different whatever. But I had to get rid of it. I mean, obviously I still own it via Steam, but I had to get rid of it, and I will definitely not be buying the Division 2 because it really is just, it's like a loop. It's like a snake eating its own tail, you know? Play the game to get the gear to make your character powerful so you can get the gear to play the game. I don't know. And that's something that's also slightly different about something like iRacing is every car starts essentially done. You don't need to level up to buy parts or have access to components or tuning or anything. I mean, you can, with any license, you can drive any car that's in the game. You can get a rookie license and the Porsche 919 and drive yourself a prototype. You just can't drive it in any races until you level up your license. So that's where we're at right now. As far as iRacing, no word yet on really a lot of the DLC. No word yet on ProMods 2.4, although 2.33 is treating me right. That's what we're in right now, and I have no complaints, no issues with it. Several big race sims are going to drop over the summer. Got that. I told you I've been spending more time in Dirt Rally 2.0 and enjoying that. It's different. It's different. It's different. It's exactly the same, but it's different. You know what I'm talking about. What else is going on? Oh, I got to tell you about FS19. This is potentially the biggest news that I have, and I almost forgot about it. So I did reinstall FS19. I wouldn't say against my better judgment, but I am very conflicted about that game. Moment, concentrating. I'm very conflicted about that game. You know that. And I got a tip from a subscriber that a new map was dropping called Era Ireland. I went ahead and reinstalled the game. I got the map, and it's definitely different. It is definitely different. It is a gigantic map. It's an oversized map. I believe it is made from, at least as I understand it, it's made from like 3 or 4 or 5 other maps, Irish maps, but they are like FS13, FS11 maps, and it looks it. I heard in it was in multiplayer. That's what I'm getting to. Also, I was in multiplayer, and I heard somebody say that some of the textures go back to FS09, and they did that to keep the poly count down. You know, Farm Sim is an unusual game in that, you know, when I spend time on a site like the Digital Foundry and see the like how current they stay with technology. They are absolutely state of the art, and they're testing new gear, and they're, you know, what is the newest and latest and greatest and hottest. You know, I was close to pulling the trigger on a new system in January, and I heard that there are going to be some things coming out with the new HP Omens in July. So I'm going to wait, because I don't want to do what I did with the system that I have now, which is time it just a little bit wrong, and had I waited a month or two, I could have added like another 6 months or year of like life to it. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like by waiting a little bit longer, getting something a little bit newer, you stay current for that much longer. Well, I feel like in something like Farm Sim, that's really not what we're about, you know? We tend to be, or maybe for the most part, sim gamers tend to be not quite as hot about, you know, the absolutely like latest and greatest graphics, and you know what I mean? And I look at the graphics of the sim that we're in right now, and they definitely work for me, but I can't pretend that this is a next-gen game. You know, I look at something like Farm Sim in general, and that's a pretty ragged-looking franchise for 2019, particularly for how it beats up your system. That was one of my biggest disappointments about FS19 is I can't run it on all high. I have to turn a couple settings down to medium. It's just a horribly optimized game, and even though it really taxes my graphics card, it still kind of looks like crap. And that's base game, right? But we're okay with that. I mean, iRacing does not have the best graphics. It is nothing compared to something like Project Cars 2 or even Assetto Corsa with a couple graphics mods running. So we game differently. Sim gamers game differently. I think for us it's about the sim, it's about the experience less than it is about maybe the graphics or various other things. But even having said that, I still have expectations. I think all sim gamers do. And this Era Ireland map it's a great map, and I am enjoying it, but my goodness, it's like taking a step back in time. It is definitely a different look. We're gonna pull in up here and sleep, by the way. So I got the tip from a subscriber, and he got me on Discord and said, hey, have you thought about doing multiplayer? And I really hadn't, but if I was going to do multiplayer, it would be on a map like that because it's so big. And then I realized something else. Well, I say realized. They just told me. Somebody told me is all that happened. It's not like I figured it out on my own. But I was speculating that it would be awesome on a map that big if, like, everybody had their own corner, right? Every farmer had their own corner, and you sort of worked together, but you sort of had your own farm and you did your own thing. And the reason that I like that is if you've ever played multiplayer on FS17, for the most part, it's one person has a farm and then everybody else is sort of their contractors. Everybody else sort of works for them. And that's okay, you know, that's okay, but it didn't 100% work for me. It just always felt sort of chaotic. But I love the idea of, you know, one person is over here doing this, another person is over here doing that, and everybody's got their own goals and ideas, and different people have different kinds of farms, and then you get together and help each other out for the things that you need to help each other out for. Here we go. I suppose we could go, yeah, let's go in here. Try not to mount the curb too hard. Oh, we're falling asleep. Falling asleep. Let's do this. I apologize for the camera bouncing you around. Oh, immersion. We're gonna back it up here and try to be a good truck driver. Get her in reverse. Oh. Right. Break. Get some sleep. Beautiful. All right, and now we're late. It's always something. It's always something. Right, so how does that work? Well, in FS19, everybody actually owns their own farm and has their own money and their own equipment and their own land, which is really kind of what I was hoping for. And I hadn't played the game enough to have spotted it, but somebody pointed it out to me, and yeah, that's legit. So we tried one session with me just hosting off my laptop, one multiplayer session, and I liked it, so I went ahead and rented a server in Germany and got a multiplayer game going, and that is definitely fun. Now, the map, like I said, I mean, everything in this life is a trade-off. It really is. And the map is, you know, would I be as into that map based on its look and feel if it was smaller? Probably not. And I wouldn't say that the size is just a novelty, but I think the size makes up for the fact that the graphics are pretty dodgy. Sorry. I'm looking away here to get my lift axles down. But ultimately, it does come together, and it does work. So, oh. Concentrating. There we go. So we do have a multiplayer server going. I found 2 subscribers, and we're, I guess, getting things sorted out right now. You know, multiplayer is weird. I've always been the way my parents raised me. Like, when someone is a guest, you know, it's still your house, your rules. But when someone is a guest, you know, you tend to, you know, you take care of your guests. So it's weird because we have a lot of, you know, there's 3 of us, and we have a lot of admins, which is not a problem. You know, there's nothing to really go wrong, and I don't have any kind of an emotional investment in the map. Like, and I don't suspect that all this could happen, but if I logged on and, like, all the tractors were in the pond, who cares? You know, it's a video game, who cares? So I'm not worried about that happening, but it is still weird to go into your save game and see things different. And I guess that's sort of the nature of multiplayer in something like SimWorld, where, yeah, that's how that works. So it's a learning experience for me. I think ultimately it's going to be fun. I also need to figure out how to record it. I'd like to do some episodes, but I got to figure out how to capture the audio, because the voices in Discord using Shadowplay, I believe they capture game sounds but not system sounds, and they only capture sounds from the exe that you activate Shadowplay in. So I don't know if I can add Discord to that. And then I would not want to add my own Discord voice because I'm using Blue Yeti recording on another laptop. So essentially I need to find a way to record game audio and Discord, but not my voice on Discord, right? And then mix in my voice recorded on the Blue Yeti. I don't know, man. I don't even know if it can be done. I don't know. And there are, like in a normal world, I would have my Blue Yeti plugged into my gaming laptop and we just go from there. But because I'm recording on two machines, I don't know. Anyway, the gist of all that is, the point of all that is, I did get a multiplayer server going for FS19. We are on that Era Ireland map, and so far it's very cool. I'm really enjoying it, but it is definitely different. And I don't know, I mean, there's another reindeer. Collaborative gaming and multiplayer gaming, it's different. It's definitely different. And I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. I mean, I understand that in some ways this is where it's all headed, and that in time I think games will be a lot less focused on AI because they'll be more focused on multiplayer, and multiplayer really is the best AI. You know, people are the best AI. So on something like iRacing, you know, coming up out of my rookie license and my D license, it's extremely frustrating. And the way the service is set up, if there's contact between two vehicles, you both get dinged. So if you're braking appropriately for a turn and somebody behind you brakes inappropriately or late brakes or does something dumb and they just drive into you, you've done nothing wrong. You have done nothing wrong. They just slam into you. You get points taken off your safety rating for that. You get dinged. And at first that seems unfair, but this is the iRacing policy on that, at least as I understand it. First off, that kind of stuff happens in real life all the time. Secondly, if there's somebody who's that bad a driver, they're getting points every race because they're always hitting something and getting dinged, but they're not necessarily hitting every driver in every race that they're in. So eventually, you see what I'm saying? Good drivers will avoid contact in enough races that whether they get hit now and then or not, they will begin to rise up through the ranks. Bad drivers will always hit things and stay down low. So eventually you will get, you know, up to your B license and A license, and there's a lot less contact and a lot better driving. But being on a track with people who aren't doing things the way that you do them, or who aren't doing things as well as you do them, initially it's just infuriating. Like, come on, man, I didn't do anything wrong. This is BS, man. And maybe it is, but mostly it's just sort of the real world. That's sort of how life works. And I guess in other forms of sim, the same thing applies. So to always be in single player, to always be working with NPCs and AI, I think is easy to get used to because it's predictable. But I don't know that it's necessarily representative of how good a game can be, and it's certainly not representative of the real world, because in the real world, obviously, you interact with people and things aren't always exactly the way you want them to be. So it's definitely like a learning process for me to don't know, to share, you know? I mean, we all learn that when we're kids. We all learn that in school. You got to share, you know? And I think as you get to be an adult, particularly if you go the direction that I've gone, where I'm really kind of, you know, no wife, no kids, no boss, I really am in the habit of doing whatever I want, whenever I want. And that's not necessarily, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, I hope. I hope there's nothing wrong with that. But it takes a second to get used to the fact that, I'm going to turn here. Oh, well, we want to stop for this red light. Yeah. Oh dear, okay. Got a little loading screen there. You see what I'm saying? Can't see the light. There we go. Oh, and while we're here, let's do that. Yeah. Concentrating. Yeah, I think you see what I'm getting at. It's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing. So I will get used to that. And, yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, I guess I need to understand that not everybody games the way that I do. Concentrating. Not everybody games the way that I do. Not everybody does anything the way I do. And that's perfectly cool. So, you know, everything, every aspect of life, every second of every day that you're awake is an opportunity to figure something out, learn something, you know, get better at being a person. Wow, we are really like stuttering and staggering here. Loading some scenery, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. Right, and this is Eddie Stobart. This has got to be one of the trickiest yards to get into on the map because you've got to go straight in. Right, now what kind of a mess do we have back here? You know what? I'm tempted to back it in there. But it's a Sunday morning. I haven't had my Red Bull yet. I think I'm just going to skip it. Right. So, how do we do? Oh, late. How late are we? 8 hours, 13 minutes. Good grief. Okay. We still made 17 grand. I'll take it. Now, I'm just going to quickly look at the job market and we'll wrap up. But we want to head further south. We want to head down into this area. So if we're leaving from here, no, nothing really going out of there. Nothing really going out of there. And that's that one. Okay, those are the same. We haven't been there. Yeah, here we go. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. How far is that? Almost 1,000 kilometers. Okay, but that's the kind of job I'm looking for. So maybe we'll go get hooked up to that one right now. Maybe, maybe. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out The Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of European Truck Simulator 2. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.